Hello! Today I thought I'd do the Booktube Newbie Challenge to introduce myself to you now that I've decided to actually do this and let you know a little bit about my book habits, preferences, opinions by answering the questions of the tag. So, the first question asks you why you started this channel in the first place. I've been watching Booktube videos for quite a while now and increasingly started to feel like I was kind of a bit of a creeper, not really participating in the whole thing, but watching it all felt very passive. And I thought it looked really fun. At the moment I'm working on my PhD, which means that everything you write always has to be really well researched and founded in an argument. You always have to make sure that what you are saying is based on fact. And if you're talking about fiction, you don't have to do that. Your opinions are what count. And I find that really appealing of a thought, to read without always having to check whether it's true or not, but just reading for the fun of it and because I like it or I don't like it. The second question asks, what are some fun and unique things you can bring to YouTube? And I feel like that is such a job interview question. The only thing I could come up with is that I'm half German, half English. So that in itself probably means that the things I read aren't totally bestseller American books, because I also go to German bookshops and I have German friends who might recommend something. Having said that though, that is the job interview answer to the question, because I read mainly English language literature, even though German is my first language. But yeah, maybe I can do something with that in the future. Maybe I can make an effort to throw in some German books every now and then. The third question asks, what are you most excited for about this channel? And I think I would just have to say I'm excited to meet some people who also like talking about books, like reading, like arguing about them. And I'm also not very tech savvy, so as a thing totally unrelated to reading and books and discussing them, I actually think it's a nice challenge for me to figure out this whole filming and editing process. And I think it's actually turning out to be something I quite enjoy. The fourth question asks, why do you love reading? And I think the main reason I love reading is that it really calms my mind without shutting it off. That sounds weird maybe. I didn't read very much for a long time during my studies because I felt so oversatiated with all the things I had to read for my studies. And I started watching loads of series, totally like binge watching American series, which is fun. I still really enjoy watching series, but they make you turn off and not think about stuff that's happening in your life anymore, which is part of the allure. But with books, I find that even though it's transporting me to other worlds, I still have the time and the sort of headspace to think about what that is doing to me or to myself. And I think that's just really nice about books. The fifth question is, what books got you into reading? And the books that came to mind are just books that I read when I was sort of a pre-teen, early teenager. Of course I read Harry Potter. I'm very proud of the fact that Harry Potter and I went through secondary school totally in parallel. I feel like I'm the perfect Harry Potter generation. But there were two authors that I really liked reading books of. One is an author called Meyer, who is a German fantasy author. And I really liked his Merle Trilogie. Apparently in English it's translated as Dark Reflections, but I read them in German. And I also really, really liked Cornelia Funke's books when I was a teenager, even though I never read the Inkheart trilogies, which she's probably internationally most well known for. I read some of the other fantasy books, and I also really liked her books about Die Wilden Hühner, the wild chicks, apparently it's in English, about this girl clique that gets into all kinds of adventures, and yeah, they're very sweet and light-hearted, although I actually think they are quite smart young teenage books. Yeah, some of the themes in there are really quite cool. It's all about girl power and family and friendship, and love to a lesser extent. Love to an extent that is relevant to a sort of 12-13-year-old, which I was at the time. The 6th question asks, what questions would you ask your favourite booktuber? And this is really individual, of course, depending on who I'd be talking to. But the one thing I find quite interesting is how do you deal with a differing opinion? The question of how much are you swayed by other people's opinions came to me because I am currently, I have been for the last few months, I've been fighting through Michel Faber's The Book of Strange New Things. And I watched so many videos and read so many reviews in advance of people who loved the book. And as you can tell by the fact that I'm slugging through the book, as I'm just really not enjoying it. So yeah, I'm curious as to how much your opinion, you booktuber, how much your opinion is then actually influenced by other booktubers' reviews and opinions, because that's a shame. The coolest reviews are the ones where someone has their really own unique feelings about it, especially if they go against the sort of canon opinion. The next question is, what challenges do you think starting a booktube channel will be the hardest to overcome? And I think the challenge is actually currently just putting myself out there, doing something that is way out of my comfort zone. And that will probably remain to be the case with trying out different kinds of videos maybe, or trying to maintain putting out videos. Just, I feel like it actually makes you quite vulnerable, and I think that's the most challenging. And of course, like I mentioned, the whole technical side of it, I feel like even more of a noob when it comes to that. But yeah, I'm hoping the challenge will be good in any case. The next question is, when did you start reading? And I always read when I was a kid. I was quite a keen reader, really, when I was young, sort of like primary school age and preteen age. And then it sort of tapered out, and throughout my studies, I studied psychology. We had so much to read, which was all really interesting, but it also drained you mentally. And after a day of studying, I then didn't really feel like reading just for my own pleasure anymore. So for a few years, I read very, very little. And I think I've only really started to read more in the last 2 years, because I made the conscious decision to read more because I knew that I liked it so much and I missed it. The 9th question is, where do you read? And I read anywhere in my flat, really. I try to have books with me when I know that I'll be waiting somewhere. But even though I generally can and will read anywhere, I like reading most when I'm traveling. I always feel like that's the most wonderful, guilt-free version of reading, because there's not much you can do anyway. There's not a sort of dooming, you have to work, you have to study, you have to clean the flat. You're traveling, so there's really no other option, and that's when I like reading most. And the final question is, what kind of book do you like to read? And I feel like I'm lacking a certain kind of literature vocabulary to really describe it. I just know that I always seem to prefer books that are character-driven over plot-driven. I don't need a lot to happen. I don't need some arch that leads to a perfectly wrapped up little conclusion at the end. I like interesting characters. I quite often seem to like a bit messed up characters. And I always will be intrigued by a book that has elements of fantastic realism. I will always be very tempted to pick up a book that has some kind of drug abuse. Don't know what that says about me. And I always like books that have multiple converging storylines. So yeah, if you can come up with a book that has fantastic realism, drugs and multiple storylines, I will be forever grateful. So yeah, that was the Booktube Newbie Tag, and I hope you feel like you got to know me a little bit better. I should probably add that my name is Faye and I'm 26 years old, and now I feel like I've really gone back to the whole job interview field. So I don't know how to get back out of that again. I hope you have a really wonderful day. Feel free to check out the 2 other previous videos I made, hoping that there will be many more to come. Bye bye and tschüss.